Rome. One of the most iconic cities in the world. Young Scottish men have been training for the priesthood here for over 400 years.
We like to boast of being the longest existing international Scottish institution.
Il Pontificio Collegio Scozzese, or the Scots College, established in 1616, has trained hundreds of young priests to see them return home and take up their mission in Scottish parishes.
All roads lead to Rome. Literally.
It's a formidable journey.
I just hope the year goes quickly so I can go home.
Student priests face a challenging 7-year degree course.
There's nothing more important at this time in the morning than a coffee.
With a dropout rate of nearly 70%.
Your goal is to survive. All right so far, I'm still here.
We open the ecclesiastical doors of this ancient Scottish institution.
So the college brings back memories when seeing you.
Very much so.
And follow the fate of Scotland's trainee priests.
Sport builds community. A few took it too seriously, I think.
As they come to terms with vows of obedience and celibacy.
I enjoyed student life. I mean, I've lived.
We follow these young Scots for a year and witness inspiration.
You can go 7 years without meeting the Pope, and I managed it after 3 days.
Celebration.
You can't show that because we're supposed to be monastic.
And ordination. A year at priest school. The Vatican City, an independent state within Rome, and the epicenter for the world's 1.3 billion Roman Catholics. With its iconic landmarks, hundreds of churches, and sacred burial sites of many of the world's saints, it's little wonder that this city, with its indelible links to early Christianity, attracts thousands of students who want to train for the priesthood or religious life. For over 4 centuries, the Eternal City has been home to Scottish men training to become priests in what is the oldest Scottish institution abroad. The Scots College, located 20 minutes north of the city. The trainee priests are preparing for the new academic year, some for the first time. It is nearly full to capacity, with an eclectic mix of former law students, teachers, DJs, and a merchant seaman.
I told my friends I was going to go to Rome to become a priest. It's really, really common to have a bit of scepticism, sometimes even hostility. So with pals, if you tell them after the first pint, the reaction's going to be different than if you tell them after the 5th pint. I think 1 or 2 of them wish I was at home going to the football with them every fortnight and not out here.
When you arrive, this is how you find your room. It's quite a sort of stark introduction to life in Rome.
Whether or not you be in 7th year and ready to go home, or whether you be in 1st year and you're just arriving, you'll never ever live in a situation like this again.
This is supposed to be your home away from home for 7 years, pretty much.
Living with 20 other guys, day in, day out, eating, praying, socialising. It tells you a lot about yourself.
When I first came to seminary, I had such high ideals and expectations of myself. I'm going to make a holy hour every day, and I'm going to do everything wonderfully with my studies, and I'm going to be really nice to everyone. And you get here, and within about 2 weeks, you're like, wow, that didn't happen.
It is the 3rd day of term, but this year things are off to an unusual start. All 8 of Scotland's Catholic bishops, including the president of the Scottish Bishops' Conference, Archbishop Philip Tartaglia, have gathered with the Scots College students, or seminarians, for Mass in St Peter's Basilica crypt.
Bishops are gratified that you are here with us in such
proximity to the burial place of St. Peter, the Prince of the Apostles.
They're here to present a formal report to the Pope, known in Latin as Ad Limina Apostolorium, to the threshold of the Apostles. The last time this took place was 10 years ago. Much has happened in that decade, and the Church is under more scrutiny than ever.
Pope Francis recently re-emphasised this call to holiness and goodness. Don't we need to hear it in the Church today? Don't let the evil one compromise you, as so many appear to have been compromised.
They emerge into the nave of St. Peter's Basilica. It's a Renaissance masterpiece and the largest church in the world. There are 22 students and 3 staff in the Scots College. This includes a new intake of 9 first years. While the bishops make their way into the private Vatican apartments for breakfast, the students fend for themselves in a nearby cafe.
For all of us, I think it's our first time being involved in an Ad Limina, so no one really knows what to expect. So.
The bishops are going in to have a meeting, an official meeting with the Holy Father. And they're kind of going to sneak us in, essentially, is what's happening.
But final year student Mark has been assigned a very important duty.
We've got a bottle of whiskey for the Holy Father to give him, so I'm sure he'll be happy with that.
Some of the older Scottish seminarians have met the Pope in previous years.
Apparently he remembered that we had brought him whiskey before, so we thought we would bring it back and see if he remembers again. I think as someone said earlier on this morning, that's why he keeps inviting us back, I think.
The students make their way to the Apostolic Palace in the heart of the Vatican City, whiskey in hand.
What kind of whiskey is it?
A wee Oban. I think last time we gave him a bottle of Glenlivet or Talisker or something.
Mark is starting his 7th and final year and has just returned from a summer working as a deacon or junior priest in his home parish of Motherwell.
I just hope the year goes quickly so I can go home. I've studied for so long, so it kind of gets to the stage now where you're like, right, okay, I've kind of had enough.
The leader of the world's Catholics, Pope Francis, lives in the Vatican City, protected by his own private army called the Swiss Guards. Access is strictly limited, and an audience with the Pope is incredibly rare.
You're always on nervous energy because you just never know. Other things can happen and meetings run late and other people come to visit and all of a sudden what was going to happen can't happen.
Happily for the Scots College students, the meeting with the Holy Father goes ahead as planned.
And we were quite surprised with the opportunity to kind of meet every one of the seminarians individually and then present them with a little gift from the college. It was excellent and better than we could have expected, really, to be honest. Wouldn't normally get that your first week of arriving in Rome. It's a great moment for all of them. And then with a group photograph with him, his kind of personality just exudes through all that he does. Very affectionate, very open to people round about him.
Wait for me, don't forget.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
The Scottish Catholic Church once owned an impressive building for training priests in the heart of Rome. It fell into disrepair, was sold, and a green site was bought outside the city. The new Scots College building was opened and consecrated by Pope Paul VI in 1964.
It is with particular joy that we bless and inaugurate this new seat of the Scots College in Rome.
Today, the college is hosting the visiting Scottish dignitaries from the Ad Limina. Preparations are underway for a mass and lunch in honour of the bishops.
Have we got Prosecco glasses? We're all in hand, we're just awaiting our guests. We're expecting Cardinal Harvey to join us for Mass, and then there'll be some guests from Rome, some Scots that live here, and some of the rectors from the other colleges.
Fifth-year student Martin is from Edinburgh.
There's nobody that's been here for an Illumina before, and so it's just one of these situations where I don't think anybody quite knows what's supposed to be happening.
First-year student Colum arrived in Rome less than a week ago.
You can go 7 years in Rome without ever meeting the Pope, and I managed it after 3 days. How did that happen? It was great, and I don't think it's something that anybody ever really forgets.
It really was amazing. It was surreal, really surreal.
It seems to be going well so far. So I've managed it yet. I've not managed to do anything completely ridiculous so far.
Yeah, I think we're good.
The pressure's on for senior student Mark, who as a deacon in his final year is playing a leading role in the Mass, attended by high-ranking American Cardinal Harvey and all of the hierarchy of the Scottish Catholic Church.
The Lord be with you.
I'm 29. I'm from Wishaw, in the Diocese of Motherwell. When I finished school, I applied to university to study maths, and I went to Glasgow. And then I taught in the high school in Airdrie. So I was there for a year, and then I came to seminary.
For an increase in vocations to priesthood and religious life in Scotland, that men and women called to serve may have the grace of God and the support of their family and friends.
I remember telling my mum and my dad, and they weren't over the moon about it.
Lord, in your mercy.
I think my dad was more silent than my mum, I suppose would be the best way to put it, but it was hard to take.
For all victims of abuse, that God will heal their injuries and their memories, whilst helping them to find safety and protection from further harm. Lord, in your mercy.
After Mass, in true Italian style, everyone always repairs to the terrazza for some aperitivi before lunch. It's a welcome chance to unwind and reflect on the Ad Limina and their meeting with Pope Francis.
It was lovely. We enjoyed meeting him, and he was in no hurry at all. We were there for almost 2 hours, and he, I said to him at one point, "Holy Father, are you all right? You tired?" And he said, no, not at all. I said, coming up for lunchtime, I said, are you hungry? And he said, no, I'm fine just now, so I was hungry.
It's been a hectic start to the seminarians' academic year.
It's been great for all the bishops to be here and to mingle with the young men. They're serious about what they're doing without being, I was going to use a word there that I shouldn't use, but they're not heavy about it.
That's a nice suit. You?
So I'm impressed with them. They do sense they need to slow down and reflect, but they also know they have to be up to speed with their own generation.
It's fine to say, I want to be a priest, but there are demands. The church has very clear ideas about what the priestly life's like. You have to say, well, are you the sort of person that can do that?
We asked them things about celibacy, obedience, simplicity of life,
But some of the studies can be difficult. They're quite intense. Coming to live in a community can be testing.
So it does take a little bit of adjusting to get used to kind of the life here.
Many of the students don't make it through the challenging 7-year course. On average, only a third become priests. Mark started with 12 fellow seminarians.
From my year, I think it's only myself who's went through the 7-year programme, who's about to be ordained. If I'm honest, I'm surprised that it's me. I always remember thinking that I'm never going to be the person who finishes here.
It's a demanding but familiar routine for 6th-year student Ryan from Port Glasgow.
One of the things I was most worried about was the 6:30 start. You know, the alarm goes off at 5:30 a.m. and that's just the way it is. You get up, you get showered, you spend some time in the chapel meditating and praying before the community prayer starts at 6:30, followed by Mass at 7:15. And then leaving at 7:10 for university. So it's all very intense in the mornings. You kind of grow to accept it.
The students share early morning taxis into Rome for lectures.
You go word for word, emphasis and highlight when there's a word in the Hebrew that's not in the Greek and vice versa. I had no intention in my early days of becoming a priest. My parish priest brought me to South Africa to help set up a project to link parishes, and that was the first time I really got to see the priestly life up close and personal. I had all of it worked out, university, naval architecture, and then there was this little niggling feeling in the back of my head. I never ever believed in the call beforehand, but that little niggling feeling got so strong eventually, I felt as if I would actively have been ignoring something had I not pursued it further.
He's particularly crazy, like he goes through red lights and he's all over the place. Makes each day a bit more exciting.
5th-year Chris is from Aberdeen.
In my teenage years and when I was at university, I never really went to church. It was only towards the end of my time at university where I started to question what does everything mean and what am I meant to do in life. We're going to the Gregorian University. We get in about 8 o'clock, so it gives us about half an hour to go for a coffee. I've got two hours of the Gospel of John and the letters, and then eschatology, which is looking at the last things, heaven, hell, purgatory, judgment. What I was looking for was right there in front of me. I feel called to be, in the Diocese of Aberdeen. My heart's in the Highlands.
The more senior students take a course in theology here at the Pontifical Gregorian University.
Why? Such a mock.
But before class starts, there's another important ritual.
There's nothing more important at this time in the morning than a coffee. Why are you drinking tea?
For the majority of the seminarians, all lectures are in Italian.
Kind of roughly translate as the class is going and take notes in English.
We have access to notes from the previous years on a college drive.
We're the unlucky people who come in and all the profs have changed for their years. So.
Well, we're going into class now. It starts in 10 minutes. As the years progress, the further down you go. So you start up on the second floor in your first year. Then second year, you're on the first floor. Then third year, you're here on the ground floor. Which is really good because you've got an easy access to the bar for the break.
Because we're quite a small community, coming into class and having the ability to mix with students from other countries isn't just great, but it's necessary. And it means that we've made friends with people from all over the world, and so going into to ministry, hopefully it means that our holidays are taken care of.
Each lecture is a melting pot of would-be priests, nuns, monks and lay people from across the globe, all here to study theology, philosophy and scripture. They all start with the Lord's Prayer. Following lessons in Italian is challenging. Not all students are 100% engaged. Fifth-year seminarian Bobby has taken an unconventional route to the seminary.
I can probably identify my vocation as far back as being 14, 15. First time I spoke to my parish priest, he said, get some life experience, and then if the call is still there, act upon it. And so that's what happened.
Bobby spent 10 years as a radio DJ and then joined the Merchant Navy. It was on a work trip to Melbourne that Bobby's vocation became clear.
The ship that I was on had a day off, and so the captain was like, you might never get back to Australia, so go and explore the city and have some fun. And before I knew it, I was outside the cathedral, and I was like, okay. Right, well, went in, and it was just in time for Mass. Went to confession after Mass, and he just said, look, I think there is something which you need to go away and pray on and think about and work with. I was missing something, and that something was my connection with the faith.
My Italian's not quite up to the standard of taking word for word notes, but Chris is very good at that.
Well, I've got some Italian, and well, I've got my Greek Bible with me here, so
just to show off.
I always love reading the Greek. So the last break, I went for some fresh air.
I was the same as well. I went for a walk in between the first 2 hours.
There's a chapel just round the corner, so during the breaks you can nip in and say some prayers.
But nothing prepares you for coming to seminary, for learning Italian when I'm not much of a linguist, for going into philosophy when I was more used to things happening when I perhaps pushed a button or turned a wheel. First year was a very big challenge. Despite that rocky road, I was convinced that this is what I was called to do. It was something which needed hard work. And so, you know, the only way to do hard work is apply yourself. And so that's what I did.
With 4 hours of lectures over, some of the students returned to the seminary for lunch. In an increasingly secular world, Mark reflects on what made him devote his life to God.
I always just felt like a emptiness almost in life. When I taught for that year, I basically spent all my money on like nice clothes and like a nice car and blah blah blah. And it didn't make me any happier. And then almost from nowhere, there's something that's calling me almost, you know, and not in the sense of, you know, as I said, like you've got God whispering in your ear, or, you know, but there's kind of something in you that's just changing, where you're like, that kind of makes sense because I can see, you know, my life in that.
My mum is Catholic, my dad is atheist. And so, yeah, so it's a bit of a strange family, but growing up, we always went to Mass, me, my mum and my sister. And then after we received confirmation, that's us done. And so we stopped going to Mass. And what changed was basically the only other Catholic in my school was like, why don't you come to Mass? And we became friends. And I got to the point where I realised this all makes absolute sense. All of a sudden, the faith wasn't just an option out of many, it was true. I found like an awful lot of the support that I've got has come from like Catholic friends that come, and well actually normal friends as well. Not that my Catholic friends aren't normal, but it makes a huge difference. Because when you go back home, you're like, well, I don't want to be the weird religious guy.
Living cheek by jowl with one another, that community aspect is very important for us. You know, these people who are going to be able to relate to others well in a parish situation in the future, are they able to kind of show the self-control and the leadership and the inspiration that people will be looking for them?
A phrase that comes up a lot in seminary is fraternal correction. I mean, I certainly found you in some way get to know yourself better living in seminary with another 15 guys because they will tell you your flaws, which is good. I mean, because you need to know that. So
it's all done in the right way as well. It's not like nasty. Well, yeah. I think brotherhood is probably the right kind of word for what it is. Yeah.
I hope I'm not revealing anything here when we say there are arguments in the seminary. Of course there are. We are 20 strong-willed men. Yeah, it's not all sunshine and lollipops, but that's perfectly natural and it's totally normal.
We're a community founded on the Word of God, so we do grow in love more and more, and that is seen over the years.
You might also have noticed that Chris is the holiest one in the college. He's like...
Chris is a very, 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 very pious guy, you know. One of the things I learned first of all about coming here is you can't compare yourself in prayer or in holiness. I've been there, you know, especially my first couple of years where you look at guys further up the house and they're like, oh, he was in saying his prayers for an hour before Mass, can you believe it? And you're like, I was only there for half an hour. And then you start engaging it in time and all these things that you eventually realise that it's not part of it, you know, it's about the kind of the honesty and the truth of it all, I think.
Because of the searing Roman heat, often in the high 30s, after lunch the seminarians retire to their rooms. A useful time for sleep, study or prayer.
They kind of let you do whatever you want to the rooms. So this is kind of what I started with, and then I've moved across the corridor in the meantime. And so this is what it's become.
This is where you do your studies?
So in theory. I think my favourite thing is probably the pictures of my friends and family from back home. You can feel a wee bit out of the loop, a wee bit isolated here. Alexa, turn off all my lights.
No.
Yeah, I don't need that. But you can't show that because that makes it seem like we're all living the life of Riley. We're supposed to be monastic.
Yeah, something completely different to what you've just seen. This is my rather empty-looking room. Then I've got a picture of the Pope. I take great pride in that, actually. What else? I have a series of icons here. So every morning I always pray to these saints. I've got, again, St. Michael, the Archangel, St. Gabriel, another Archangel, John the Baptist, and yeah, just a crucifix of our Lord.
Do you see Jesus as your role model?
Yeah, I mean, he is the model par excellence. He's our good shepherd, and yeah, we're trying to imitate him in the way that we live here in the community. So, like, again, my sort of simple room is trying to, live that life of simplicity, not be attached to material things.
Afternoon classes are typically held here in the college. Today, some of the seminarians are having their weekly preaching practice session.
We are called to be people who can be that link between the people and between Christ.
And we should remember, we should mark with due reverence and praise Mary as Mother of the Church.
I'm looking forward to hopefully being able to stand there one day, God willing, and be a priest. There's I suppose, a slightly nerve-wracking element to that.
Your introductions are always very good, but that was particularly funny.
Yeah, I thought that's been one of your strongest homilies so far.
I worry about having to be the guy who preaches at the funerals and organises it all. Reading books and and like being told what to do, that's not how real life works. I won't get it right all the time. I'll probably say the wrong thing and I'll probably do the wrong thing. I just hope that I stay open enough to reflect and say, well, I didn't actually do that very well, or I didn't handle that well, but I'm only 30, or 29 I should say. So I hope that it's part of growing up.
Was we celebrate today the feast of Mary, Mother of the Church. She's somewhere unseen, she's somewhere in the background.
The college is supported by a handful of Franciscan nuns. They do laundry, keep the college clean and help prepare dinners.
We're in Italy. Pasta and pizza are a great kind of temptation to people, and there's very few people leave Rome lighter than they arrive.
After dinner, the day ends with evening prayers.
I mean, there's the recognition that we're all in it together. There's that camaraderie that exists amongst us. Everybody wants everybody to get through. Everybody wants everybody to end up being a priest back home in Scotland. Now, it's not for some people. Some people do decide to leave, but that's the success of seminary as well, because we're giving people that time and that place to discern their call.
But it's not all prayers and masses for the Scots seminarians. Some of them find time for a second religion.
I'm so glad that we have so many people that enjoy a game of football. We do play every Sunday.
Chris is lethal when he gets the ball.
First-year Michael is missing some of his life back home.
I've got to be honest, the other thing I miss is Celtic. That was a huge sacrifice for me, but I've actually kept my season ticket. Even though I can only get to about 3 games a season, because the seat is too good to give up.
We pray and eat together, but like doing sport as well builds community. There's a few took it too seriously, I think. We all want to win, but yeah, it's good fun.
Penalty! You're losing the football, but you're winning the drama competition.
Easy, that is criminal, by the way. On camera. It's not ideal after a Sunday lunch.
I'm not a footballer. Too old, I just come along and make up the numbers.
Football is not the only way to keep in shape.
I remember one of the first days Father Dan gave us a tour of the college, and then we got to the end of the corridor where the gym is, and he says, and this is the gym, but nobody ever uses it because people come here and they normally never leave the same weight when they arrive. And so, right, challenge accepted. And I'm glad to say that I'm currently under the weight I was when I arrived, so let's see if I can keep it going for 2 years and beat him.
They're studying in a vibrant international city, and the Scots boys take full advantage of that.
Rome is where the church meets the world. You don't come here to stay in your room.
I mean, it's an amazing place to be, and completely different to what we know back home.
Where else can you sit there and have your cappuccino with the ruins of Augustus's monument?
Another huge thing is opera. Ask me 6 years ago about a trip to the opera, and I mean, you'd be lucky if you were still standing, probably. It's great when people come out and then you get to play tour guide and you get to see Rome through fresh eyes again because you're seeing it with their eyes.
As you develop in your faith, you start to realise, well, you're tripping over saints as well. And half of them seem to be buried in Rome.
Nowhere else will you come across the place where St. Peter was martyred and buried. Nowhere else will you come across the place where St. Paul had his head chopped off and it bounced 3 times and produced 3 fountains and it's now immortalised in stone. The place where his tomb is. You know, there's no other place where you will meet so much of the church. Popes have been here, by and large, for the history of the church.
Pope Francis himself has been an inspiration to many of the seminarians.
I went to uni and studied law. Like a bolt from the blue, what happened at the same time was the year I went to uni was the year that Pope Francis came in. He was new and he was kind of shaking things up.
Michael read some of the new Pope's writings with other Catholic students at Glasgow University.
That kind of matured a bit into a proper deep, prayerful conversation with God about, look, do you want me to be a solicitor, or actually do you want me to go and be a priest? And then I thought, right, all roads lead to Rome. That's literally.
Some of the older students had the privileged opportunity to assist the Pope at the Easter Vigil Mass.
You know, in the last 3 years, I've met the Holy Father 3 times, once a year for 3 years. The successor of Peter, it's just incredible. Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful experience.
Despite all the hard work and commitment, there are definitely perks to life as a seminarian in Rome.
People ask me how I find it, and I say it's a good laugh. And they're kind of surprised that that's the first thing I say, actually, but it is a good laugh. We do things like the barbecue and big celebrations for feast days and stuff like that. Sometimes you'll have had a difficult day and you come down to dinner and it is an absolute scream because the banter is just non-stop back and forward for 40 minutes.
The life of a seminarian is serious in a lot of ways, but actually it's peppered with the kind of little holiday moments. It's a blessed life in the fullest sense of it, to be here.
It's the beginning of Lent, a period of 40 days when practicing Catholics traditionally fast, pray and abstain. Every year on the 10th of March, the Scots College commemorates the martyrdom of the only post-Reformation Scottish saint, John Ogilvie.
It's a great day for us, and a kind of little break in Lent as well. Most of us see it as a significant enough feast day to allow us that little bit of dispensation, shall we say.
This is probably the biggest feast day for the college. The only reason that we're really here as a seminary is because of the martyrdom of John Ogilvie.
He was a Scottish man who came to Europe to be trained as a priest, to then go back to spread the faith in Scotland. So for us, it really fits quite well with what we're doing here.
This Jesuit priest was hung at Glasgow Cross during Scotland's Reformation, when Catholics were persecuted. As he was dying, he threw his rosary beads into the crowd below.
In 1600, in Scotland, it was impossible for Catholics to study at university. The Pope founded the Pontifical Scots College, and it was about anyone wanting a higher level education. In 1616, there was a decision made to concentrate on priestly formation only.
The Scots College students together made what was called the missionary oath, where they'd all made this, big decision that we were going to go back to be priests in Scotland. Which, only a year after a priest being killed in Scotland is quite a big deal, if you think about it.
With the commemorative Mass over, the feasting and the drinking gets underway.
Probably the most common question you'll be asked when you tell people you're going to be a priest is, does that mean you can't drink alcohol?
I'm on the phone to my mum and dad and I'm saying I was out for lunch today and we went for a wee gin and tonic. And they were like, you're living the absolute life of Riley over there. And actually, there is a lot of that.
First year column is pleased to have made it this far.
The first year in seminary, your goal is to survive. All right, so far I've survived. Well, I survived Christmas. I survived the January exams. I'm still here. I have currently survived John Ogilvie so far, although there is still time.
Say what you're going to say, Father.
I went through high school. I was one of those weirdos who believed in God, but they exist. They do exist. You even find a few of them here. I've only been here for 7 months, and it's been some of the best in my life with all of them.
Bobby's been granted access to the old Scots College in the centre of Rome, which is now the headquarters of a law firm. He's meeting one of the last ever alumni of this impressive building.
Monsignor, it's good to see you again. Thanks very much for coming along and showing me around.
Glaswegian Monsignor Charlie Burns is a former Vatican archivist and has been living in Rome for 60 years.
So the college brings back memories, Monsignor?
Very much so, because so little of it has changed. I came in 57 and left in 61. I was the last person to sleep, actually, in this building.
Wow, bit of church history. Would you like to take a seat?
Yes, please.
And so what would your routine have been when you were here?
I think we had to get up at 6. The advantage was that we're near the Greg, 10 minutes walk. We could play football up at Villa Pamphili. We were well organised.
So a place of many happy memories.
And funny memories. There was one Spanish professor who really was a mystic. He said to me, I remember when I first met you, I asked you, Esne Anglus, are you English? And you said, nunquam, scotus sum. Never, never, I'm Scottish. And he said to all the professors, watch that wee guy. He's hypersensitive to his nationality.
The chapel, built in 1592, became a place of worship for Scotland's exiled Catholic monarchs in Rome, James Stuart and his son Charles, better known as Bonnie Prince Charlie. It was then incorporated into the college.
Up here on the left-hand side, there's a room behind that grille, and that's where the king came for Mass.
Following occupation by the Italian army in World War II, the college fell into disrepair and the decision was made to close it in 1961.
It would have cost £100,000 to put it in good order.
Really? A lot of money in those days.
Well, it's well over £1 million of today. Whereas if they sold this, they would have money to build a new college.
When you come here and you're reminded of how many times my footsteps have crossed over with the footsteps of those guys who have been here before me, I think it's just an incredible to be able to be here to give witness to what they've done.
Mm-hmm.
It's the last week of the seminary year, and Mark is working hard ahead of his final exams.
Now I'm kind of getting to that realisation where I'm like, do you know, like I'm a bit fed up. I feel like I want to be home and I want to be doing what I feel like I've been called to do, you know.
All being well, he's weeks away from his ordination as a priest in his home parish of St Thomas's in Wishaw.
It's actually really happening, like I really should start thinking more about it.
This will be St Thomas's first ever ordination.
My ordination will be the 3rd of July, which is the feast of St Thomas. It kind of all fits in quite well. I think they're quite pleased. I hope they're pleased.
For first-year Michael, however, parish life seems a long way ahead.
One of the difficulties with being in seminary is that you're not in the parish day to day talking to normal Scottish people. You're studying really kind of complex, abstract philosophy, and you're thinking, how am I going to use this in a parish in, you know, the bottom end of Stevenson or the top end of Kilmarnock or something like that?
It's not an easy path. 3 students left the seminary during the year. Chris is busy making a dessert for the end-of-year barbecue.
Everyone is in charge of something. My speciality is the tiramisu.
On the terrazza, Joe is giving the barbecue some TLC.
We went from maybe 17, 18 degrees on a sunny day to this. Most of us in the middle exam. So it's not very nice. It's already hot, and then you've got 2 big barbecues going at some rate. You end up a sweaty mess. I'm a sweaty mess anyway, so.
It's been an exciting time for the 5th-year students who have passed a significant milestone on their journey to priesthood.
Me and my year group all received candidacy. We've said this whole time we would quite like to be priests, and now the church is saying we would also quite like you to be priests.
In the Diocese of Rome, when you've received candidacy, that's when you start wearing collars.
The first time you put on the black shirt and you put on the collar, we just sort of looked at each other and burst out laughing.
To be able to share that moment was wonderful.
You open the wardrobe and it's like a cartoon. It's like, what do I wear, black or black today?
It's a bit of a game changer, I think.
You have gone from being like Joe Bloggs really walking around the street to then being a very recognisable person, man from the church.
It's a constant reminder that, you know, I'm a servant of Christ, and it's a call to holiness.
But the end-of-year barbecue is strictly casual, and it looks like the preparations have paid off.
The barbecues are basically the only time I cook.
Yeah, he's not much of a cook otherwise.
Very harsh, but fair enough.
Sixth-year Ryan has much to celebrate.
I've been ordained a deacon this year. It was amazing. My own bishop for the Diocese of Paisley came out to Rome and ordained me. So there were about 50 or 60 people from home out for the occasion.
Becoming a deacon is his last step on the road to becoming a priest at the end of his 7th year. And it qualifies him to assist with Mass, distribute communion, bury the dead and perform baptisms. But with these rites comes great responsibility, and deacons are required to make some serious vows to their bishops.
The two promises that perk everyone's ears up would be the promise to celibacy and the promise to obedience. The promise to celibacy is something that I think if you ask anyone in first year, they would be lying if they said that wasn't a worry for them. Most of us are coming from university or the world of work, and so you're aware of the world around you and you're aware of how, you know, the student lifestyle, how it operates.
I enjoyed student life. So yeah, I mean, I've lived.
The first two things I always identified with my future self were as husband and father.
Having a family is great and it's something that I've wanted, but we are called to be fathers as priests. We're called to be spiritual fathers. We're called to look after the people who are entrusted to us in parishes.
Celibacy doesn't make sense unless you're giving yourself fully to the Lord. That's why we're celibate. In a very strange way, it becomes a very exciting prospect because it means then you can give yourself fully to the Lord and to your people in a parish.
You know, what we're called to do as priests, it's supernatural. You're forming that bridge between the people and Christ. And so to do that without any baggage, kids and family, is freeing.
Some of my friends have now started to have children. My older brother's got 2 children, so you have this kind of picture of family, you know, and you say to yourself, is that what I'm being called to do? You know, am I being called to go and have a family and live a married life, you know, or, you know, is this still where I feel like I'm being called, you know? And I suppose, yeah, part of it is like understanding, you know, what God wants for you.
The deacons also promise to obey their bishop.
Obedience isn't really coming from this man in a pointy hat. It's coming from a bishop, a successor of the apostles, who's ultimately channeling God's will.
The bishops decide where the priests in each diocese will work throughout their whole career.
The very obvious example of the promise to obedience that people think about would be in clergy moves. And that can be a difficult time for priests, because if you're giving your all to the people of your parish, then it shouldn't be easy to leave.
Logistically, it's a nightmare. And then more hard than that, you've got all the relationships and the network of support that you have with your parishioners. I think that's probably going to be the most difficult challenge in terms of responding to obedience.
The seminarians are celebrating the last Mass of the academic year.
The idea of committing your life to the church is just incomprehensible to so many people. They might not always have the support from home. To kind of come here in what are difficult times and present yourself for this mission and this work and this process is a kind of testament to their own kind of courage.
Mark packs his room for the last time before returning home for his ordination.
I'm much happier, I think, on how and where my life has been.
and where I am in my life and what I'm doing with my life. I think seminary's kind of taught me to be humble, you know, but I think that's part of growing in the relationship with God. The idea of beginning to see where your faults are. It's important to know that in order to grow. Be nice to be home in the cool of Scotland. One hopes.
After 7 long years, Mark finally gets his Last Supper.
All good things must come to an end, but thankfully, all bad things come to an end as well. No, I'm kidding.
Imagine us as rough rocks, and we're put in a bag, and then they shake the bag really hard, and you kind of knock off each other's edges to make each other kind of round.
7 years has been a long time. It feels a long time sometimes.
The daily grind of living with people and of studying sometimes very abstract things in 36-degree heat, I think they do make a difference to who you are.
It's helped me grow up, it's helped me mature, I hope. Well, not everyone would agree on that, I don't think, but...
Change is inevitable, really, when it comes to moving into seminary. If you don't change, then I think you're probably not going to make it, to be blunt.
I'll cherish the memories I have of seminary forever, you know, and as I said, not all of them are the best memories, but every single day in the seminary you're guaranteed a laugh, you know, and that's testament to ourselves, I think, here as a community. Thank you very much. I'll keep doing my prayers. It's an exciting part, but it's also quite a daunting thing as well, you know, because you're leaving something that you're used to go to something that is foreign. It's all about trying to understand how to be a good priest, you know, a good kind of pastor.
Scotland, July 2019. St Thomas's Wishaw is about to host its first ordination. Keen to show this 1950s chapel at its best, the parishioners have swung into action, cleaning inside and out. With parish priest Father Christoph lending a hand.
I'm extremely stressed, but everyone is so passionate about the ordination in this parish. Remember when I went with Mark to the school? Oh, that was a little an eye-opener that a young, handsome and successful man wants to be a priest.
Mark has finally made it back home for good. Tomorrow he will be ordained a priest here in the parish of his youth.
It's nice to be home, you know, as I said. I'm in the middle of this being planned for the people. This is for the people from the BBC.
Is it nice to have him home?
Tell you to do it. I've never seen much, mind you.
I'm not particularly nervous, but my head's just going in 100 different directions with trying to make sure I've said about this or I've asked about that, you know. So there's loads of like silly things that you shouldn't really have to, that aren't an issue, but you know, things that just pop into your head normally when you're trying to get to sleep. Try and go out tonight for maybe a curry and a couple of beers, I think, to try and chill down. But I've not told my mum that yet, so I can imagine the issues that will arise when that's mentioned.
Today is the culmination of 7 years of study, prayer and difficult decisions. At the age of 30, Mark will be ordained a priest in the presence of nearly all the clergy of the Motherwell diocese.
Most Reverend Father, Holy Mother Church asks you to ordain Mark, our brother, to the responsibility of the priesthood.
Holy Mary, Mother of God.
Mark lies face down on the floor. This is called prostration. It dates back to an ancient Jewish tradition and signifies humility before God.
Like the line, for me, wasn't the most profound kind of a part of it, and I always had expected that to be the most profound part of the ordination, but it really struck was whenever you promise obedience to the bishop and you put your hands in his hands, and it's kind of like, you feel this idea of giving over control a little bit.
Finally, Mark receives his priestly vestments. And as a symbol of being accepted into a lasting brotherhood, each priest gives him the kiss of peace.
Kiss of peace with the other priests, it was great, because so many of my friends, you know, and it was just nice, you know. You've got a lot of history with a lot of people, and they know your journey, and they know where you've been and everything like that, so it's been good.
Lovely, beautiful. I was very excited right enough, but it was worth every restless night.
Really went well. I've been at an ordination before, but when it's your own son, it becomes even more special and you get closer to it and the journey that he's been on. So no, we are so proud.
Absolutely beautiful service. Everything about it beautiful. And I wasn't looking forward to it because I thought it would be too emotional, but actually I was carried through just by the whole service, the words, everything about it, just beautiful.
Whenever all the guys go back to seminary and I'm back here, and you have all the realisation that you're not going back to Rome, you know, eventually hitting or sinking in, I think that, yeah, it will be exciting, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to starting work, starting doing some ministry.
Mark has now started his mission as a priest in St Joseph's Parish, Blantyre, leaving Bobby, Martin, Chris, Ryan and the others to their continued studies. Now it's time to put into practice what he learned during his 7 years in priest school.